Hi, I'm Mike Field.
And I'm Pat Whalen.
Pat is a lifelong comic book geek.
And Mike is a filmmaker and storyteller. So naturally, a bulk of our conversations surround the world of the Marvel movies. Some consider the MCU one of the greatest achievements in modern-day filmmaking, and others just think they're comic book movies. Each episode will tackle one film and discuss the differences between the comic book and what's on screen. We'll explore the growth of the Marvel Cinematic Universe from its inception to present day and beyond, and have a little fun along the way. You may not have asked for it. You certainly don't need it, but you'll be happy we're here. We think. This is yet another MCU podcast. Is it okay if I start this?
Absolutely.
Good. And we're back. Welcome to episode 7.
Well, technically, yes, episode 1 of phase 2, but
yes.
Of season 2 of phase. I have no idea, but yes.
All right. Welcome to
7.
the first episode of phase 2 of yet another MCU podcast.
We have returned after a much needed hiatus. We traveled the country, touring, talking about the season 1 with our many multitude of fans.
If you'd like to book us for your event,
and the pitching begins,
let us know.
So we have returned, and as you know, we like to each episode we get a breakdown, a movie from the MCU. We're doing it in order. We did the Avengers, and we are now starting phase 2, which is Iron Man 3. And as we do here, we'll talk about the movie. We'll talk about the differences between the comics, which Pat is a big time. I guess not fan. I was gonna say fan. I was gonna say
fan.
No, but I was gonna say somebody with a lot of knowledge.
Somewhat knowledgeable. Somewhat knowledgeable.
I am not, and so I actually like that part because I just get to pepper Pat with questions, and that was pun intended for Pepper Potts.
Ooh. Oh man, this is gonna be an episode.
Well, it's been a while, and then we like to wrap it up with just the movie in and of itself inside the MCU. And with other things going on, which is a little interesting because this one doesn't have a lot, but we'll get to that. All right, so real quickly, let me just give some facts on Iron Man 3 as I move my computer to actually be in front of me this time. Iron Man 3 came out on May 3rd, 2013. That was a Friday, actually 2 days before my birthday. It's a runtime of 130 minutes. It's rated PG-13, had a production budget of $200 million. And I have a note here that says the budget was originally 140. And they added 60 after the success of the Avengers. So after the Avengers did like massive amount of money,
yeah,
they gave more money to the Iron Man 3 budget.
I
don't
know where it went.
Who knows? Probably to Robert Downey Jr. salary.
Yeah, definitely.
Its opening weekend it did 174 million, domestic 409, and then worldwide it did 1.2 billion dollars. So I guess it was successful. I
would think so.
We also have this is the first Iron Man not directed by Favreau, right? Because Favreau did 2.
He did 1 and 2, yeah.
So you have directed by Shane Black, who also wrote it with Drew Pearce. Music by Brian Tyler, which he did the Avengers, and does he do Avengers: Age of Ultron? I think
I believe
he
so.
does a couple.
I think you guys just talked about him too on Forgotten Cinema with Constantine, correct?
Yes, I believe so. Yes, that's
so he's been in the comic book universe for a while.
For those out there, that's my other podcast with Mike Butler, Forgotten Cinema. Check it out.
And the plugs continue.
Exactly. Cinematography by John Toll and produced by none other than Kevin Feige.
Of course.
I guess I'll run through the cast because I'm not gonna. Robert, the usuals are there.
Yep.
But now we have who's added to the mix is Guy Pearce as the villain, as Aldrich Killian.
Mm-hmm.
Rebecca Hall as Maya Hansen, who is his partner, I guess, in crime, kind of.
Ish.
Yeah. Favreau returns, obviously. Ben Kingsley as Trevor Slattery as the Mandarin, which we'll get into that, I'm sure. James Badge Dale. Oh, geez, these notes are low. Stephanie Sostak. I said that wrong. Paul Bettany has returned. William Sadler, which I forgot he was in. And then the kid, Ty Simpkins.
Yes.
Sadler's the president. I know.
Oh, right. And then who played the vice president? That's somebody that's been
Miguel Ferrer.
Ferrer.
He's passed away.
Did he?
Oh. Yeah, I noticed that. He's passed. I think he passed away. That's too bad. I like
that. He was.
Too bad.
He was a really good character actor. Like
he
would pop up. It's like, oh, that guy.
Sometimes he's like a real like.
Oh, he
jerk.
always plays a real good like administrative jerk. But
yeah,
I love the guy. I mean, he was a great actor.
Okay, so give me some of your thoughts on this movie. I mean, I know you've watched it a ton of times.
Yeah.
This is actually the first time I watched it since I watched it in the theater.
Wow.
I know. I don't really go back a lot, but
no, because I think, I mean, a lot of the ones we've talked about in phase 1, 2, you didn't.
Well, I never really see Iron. You never really see Iron Man 3 on like HBO or Showtime when you're flipping around. You see the others. You see Captain America. You see sometimes. Oh, I never really see.
I
Thor.
think it was on FX for a while. They had the rights to it, but I don't know what the current situation was with Disney Plus is. So you might not even be able to scroll through like FX or TBS anymore and get something.
Well, it's on. That's where I saw it. I saw it on Disney Plus.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's where I watched it.
This is one of the ones that, kind of give me your thoughts in terms of when you saw it back then.
When I saw it back then, and even now, it feels like, well, one, it's a fun movie. I like it. It's good. They have a really good mix of the personal drama. It's got a lot of fun action to it. Feels almost like and this is a weird review of it, but feels almost like a 90s movie. Like there's got these moments where it's a little bit lower budget, where, Tony's breaking into the Miami compound. The evil vice president's trying to take over the world. So it has a lot of that like 90s action feel to it.
Well, that's Shane Black.
It is Shane Black, yeah. And it's clearly coming through. The other piece of it was, it feels like an epilogue to phase 1. Okay. It doesn't feel like a start to phase 2.
I can agree with that. Absolutely.
The way it ends with Tony driving off into the sunset, well, sort of driving off into the sunset. We'll get to the tag in a second. Him driving off to the sunset and him saying, I am Iron Man. He bookends his story from Iron Man 1, now into Iron Man 3. And if we didn't see Tony Stark ever again after that, I mean, his performance in Endgame was fantastic. And I would absolutely love to see that. But if we ended the Tony Stark Iron Man story right here, I'd be okay with that.
I find the I am Iron Man tag in this third one to be obnoxious.
Yeah.
And now that I've heard it again, I think it kind of takes away from the Endgame one, because that would have been great, because that would have been like the second time he said it, right? Yeah. And I'd rather have that, because then it harkens back to the very first time you saw it.
Right. And so that's what they were trying to do here. I got a fun fact for you.
Ooh, go.
It was originally written with I am Tony Stark, but it got rewritten to further mythologize the character. Did
it get rewritten, or did Robert Downey Jr. just didn't want to do it and he just changed his mind? Because
I heard rewritten. I saw rewritten. I'm not sure.
Every time we do these movies with him in there, all I hear about is how he just changes everything and like just does what he wants to do and comes in and says like, I want to learn this. Yeah. And like someone was telling me about, he came in, they had choreographed when he was doing Sherlock Holmes, and they had choreographed one of the ones, the one or two. They had choreographed this whole fight scene that he was going to do, and he came in, he's like, "Oh, listen, I've been training with this martial arts. I want to do it like this," and they just completely changed it. And I'm like, come on. But anyways,
and that's when he's going against use the Sherlock Holmes one. He's going against Guy Ritchie, who's profound, like known director. It's not like he's just pulling some guy off the street, and it's like, no, this is Robert Downey Jr.'s movie. You just yell.
I mean, honestly, it probably is because it's Sherlock Holmes off of Iron Man 3, but regardless of that.
But he also did, they worked together in this one, Shane Black and Robert Downey Jr. on Kiss Kiss Bang Bang.
Which is awesome.
Fantastic movie. And we could just sit here and talk about that for an hour.
I could talk about that and The Nice Guys for a good 4 hours.
Nice Guys is great.
Yeah. Although he's not in Nice Guys, but that's another Shane Black movie.
Talk to me a little bit about Shane Black, though, because we're going from heavy improv in the first two movies, with how it was written, how it was filmed, to who was arguably the most prolific writer of the 90s at least in terms of pay scale. What does he bring to this? And do they need that?
In terms of his writing style?
Directing, like his I guess his other influences.
Well, you right off the bat, you talked about how it felt like a 90s movie. That's where that's his bread and butter. Like he for the longest time had the distinction for, I don't know if it's still the case, but he had the highest sale for a treatment for pitch. That he before he even wrote the script for Long Kiss Goodnight, which stars Gina Davis and Samuel L. Jackson. Before he's a director, he doesn't direct a lot. He writes a lot. He was first writer, and talking like classic action films from the 90s. I want to say, I was going to say Lethal Weapon, but I don't think that's
it was Lethal
right.
Weapon. I think it was Lethal Weapon, LA Confidential, right?
Yes, you're right. Because I don't know why I don't have. Yeah, so he did Lethal Weapon. He did all the lethal. Well, he probably did some of the stories and stuff for 3 and 4. He didn't do, but he did Last Action Hero, which I really
I love Last. That's a great film.
He wrote Last Boy Scout. He wrote The Monster Squad. One of his things is when you watch any of his movies, is most of them take place at Christmas. They all take place around Christmas. And you see it in Iron Man 3. And
does Last Action Hero take place? I can't remember.
No. Yes, it does. Oh, wait a minute. I think. No, it doesn't.
I mean, this is a deep dive here now.
I don't think it does. No, but most of his movies are Christmas time because like I think he did some stuff with Die Hard. I don't think it's not official, but yeah. But anyways, so, but his not only the Christmas stuff, but the quippy dialogue, which I know you can attribute to some of it being Robert Downey Jr.
MCU.
Right. So that could be a part and parcel. They might just be they have the same kind of taste.
Yeah.
Character work, like you look like with Lethal Weapon and Last Boy Scout, you have cops that are on the edge. They're not straight and narrow. They do things a little differently. He did Kiss Kiss Bang Bang before Iron Man 3.
Yes.
And then when Favreau said he wasn't going to do it, Robert Downey Jr. said, hey, why not Shane Black? I just worked with him in Kiss Kiss Bang Bang. So they have the same mentality. So I can understand why that would probably be a good fit.
Yeah.
His scripts are refreshing.
That's what I wanted to ask you
Yeah.
about, because they're not and you could talk a little bit about the format of standard Hollywood scripts, but he goes a little bit wider and weirder in the descriptions.
He'll sometimes get a little self-referential about pop culture stuff.
Yeah.
Not so much in terms of like Kevin Smith or Quentin Tarantino, but it's in there. And I think he just maybe shoots from the seat of his pants kind of thing.
Yeah.
I don't know. His writing, his style is it's not stilted. Let's put it that way. It's not, you have a classic structure in there, but he masks it with, character work and action scenes and just overall dialogue. You can't see it too much. But again, you have this movie is another personal journey story. And like you said, it feels like a wrap up movie, especially towards the end with the credits. It's all images from the last 3 films.
Yeah.
So you're like,
and it's fun. The music's upbeat more than like it had been.
Well, there's no AC/DC in this one. They got rid of that.
That's true.
I had a note here that he made a point that he wanted to focus on real world villains and not like guys in suits kind of thing. So you have Killian, you have the Mandarin, which is not really the Mandarin, which is a theme now in the Iron Man and the last Spider-Man, which is people faking who they are.
People faking who you are. We've talked about it in the other Iron Man movies. Somebody is disgruntled about Tony Stark.
Always.
So that's where Aldrich Killian comes in.
Yeah.
What did you think about the Mandarin reveal?
Well, I know that because they set up, the 10 rings?
Yes.
In the first 2.
Yeah.
And they kind of hint to it. And they don't really say that whether it was all fake. You just completely ignore that now.
Which we're going to get to that when we get to the
comics.
With the connections to the MCU. So there are a little bit more connections than you probably recognize on the surface.
Okay. All right, cool.
But yeah,
I don't know. I mean, it was fine. You knew that Killian was the bad guy from the beginning.
As soon as you walked right in.
As soon as you see him in Pepper Potts' office, for last one when he's a complete nerd,
right? And
he's just like this slick, suave dude. Like I might get extremis is supposed to make you all powerful and strong. It doesn't make you cool.
He's got his Gucci loafers and socks on, so he knows he's a hot exec.
I didn't know what fashion was until I had extremis injected into me.
All he needed was a haircut.
Well, and some Proactive apparently.
You're right, Proactive haircut and just fix that scoliosis.
I know. So you knew that he was the bad guy from the start. They made a point to have this whole Stark and Potts, they weren't together. They were struggling. And they created the PTSD angle.
I didn't mind the
panic
PTSD
attacks
angle because it felt like there was, and this is something that I've had criticisms about the later movies, especially the early phase 3 ones, is there's very little consequence. So at least you see more of the emotional consequence of Avengers come into play. But again, as he wraps it up in this one, it feels like he wraps it. And not that he completely gets over the PTSD, because I don't think anybody ever does. But
see, that's my problem, though. See, his panic, not to cut you off, but he has 3 panic attacks. And he says he has more. And then the kid's like, you're an engineer. Just create something. He's like, you know what? Yeah, you're right. Panic attack's over. That's it. That's all it takes. That's all it takes. That's not all it takes.
Again, it's a 90s movie.
I get it.
You need that spunky kid to make the hero be the hero. And now that you tell me that Shane Black wrote Last Action Hero, this movie is Last Action Hero. And I can't unsee it.
Oh, that kid's annoying. I like Last Action Hero, but I watched it the other day and I was just really I was watching. I was like, oh, this kid's bothersome. Yeah. This kid's bothersome. We got to get him to the movie. All right. Anyway, sorry. I just love in the movie when I'm going to go back to Last Action Hero. So I love in the movie when the bad guy shooting people. I'm shot somebody. Come, but somebody arrest me. And he's waiting for the cops. Like somebody would come. It's not that bad. Yeah. So there was just stuff in here that they kind of generated within the movie itself that didn't really match with 1 and 2. Yeah. I know it's a follow up for Avengers, like you said. So maybe this is a better end of phase 1, or maybe I wouldn't say this movie technically you have to say it's the beginning of phase 2, but it's almost like it's phase 1, phase 2, right in the middle of
Yeah.
It feels like its own movie, and he never comes back for another Iron Man. This is it.
Right.
Was his contract up after this?
I thought so. And then I think they pay him a boatload of money. We'll have to look it up for Age of Ultron, but I think they paid him even more money than he got for the first Avengers to do Age of Ultron.
That's the only time he comes back. That's the next time he comes back.
That's
after
the next
Iron Man 3.
time he comes back. I
Right?
don't think he's in a tag in anything. I think it's Iron Man 3, Age of Ultron, then Civil War, and then the last two, Infinity War and Endgame.
And then, but Spider-Man.
Oh, it's Spider. Yeah, you're right, Spider-Man. So, but I think I think at this point they start paying him. He's outside the contract because I think he signed a 3-movie contract. So, Avengers, Iron Man 1, and Iron Man 2, and then now I think they have to negotiate on each deal.
Okay.
And then I think for maybe Avengers, Endgame, and Infinity War, it was a combined deal because they filmed it all at the same time.
Right.
Essentially one story. Where a lot of the other actors had gotten locked up in like 9-movie contracts.
Chris Evans had
gotten that. I think Sebastian Stan had gotten that as well. Nick Fury, obviously, we had talked about.
Well, they renegotiated that one.
Yeah, they did. Yeah.
Which he does not make an appearance in this one.
He doesn't.
We'll get to that.
Yeah. I mean, the only one that makes, and maybe this is a time for the tag, but the only one that makes an appearance is Bruce Banner.
Yeah.
And I hate this tag.
I know you do.
I absolutely hate this tag. I was talking to my sister about this tag, and she's like, did you want him to just do the voiceover into nothingness? I'm like, no, absolutely not. But it feels that, like, if you don't see the tag at the end of the movie and the way Disney Plus is set up, it's hard, like,
oh yeah, I know.
It's hard to get
exactly.
to the credits now, which is absurd because this is what they've done.
Well, I will appreciate this, that it's not like Netflix and Prime, it's a race to get to the remote. You're watching an episode and it's too late. You don't want to get to the next episode. You're like, God damn it, where's the remote?
Oh my God, it's at the bottom of the couch. We're going to get this.
Oh, now it's starting and then I was going to screw up my whole algorithm.
But this one,
it does.
Disney Plus just puts it down into a corner.
Yeah.
And you can't, like, and I want to just fast forward through the credits to get to the tag. And then you get to the tag on this and it's a continuation of the story. So it's like the voiceover, he's talking to Bruce Banner the whole time.
Mm-hmm.
Or Bruce is sleeping, whatever. You need that to finish the story. Otherwise, he's just talking into nowhere. It's just exposition.
Right. Well, we'll get to that when the MCU stuff, because I got some thoughts there.
Okay.
But let me ask you this. If the first 2 Iron Man didn't come out, and it was Avengers, and then it was this movie, like, does this movie stand alone for you? So it needs Avengers? Does it need the first 2?
I think it needs all three.
Right. So this
maybe
movie,
no, I think it needs Iron Man 1. I don't really think it needs Iron Man 2,
mm-hmm.
but it definitely needs Iron Man 1 and Avengers.
Mm-hmm.
It's nice to have Iron Man 2 because you see him continuing to tinker with new suits.
Mm-hmm. Do we really believe that it was 6 months from Avengers, right?
I believe so, yeah.
Do we really believe that he created 40 suits 6 months?
Well, I mean, you see it in where I think it's in the first one where he's tinkering, where Jarvis and a lot of the robots do a lot of the work. So he's
designing them and they're building them.
And they're building
right.
them.
Okay.
So I don't I
I
guess.
But he has to design that.
He has to design that. But if you look at him, it's, the Igor, basically each suit has one function.
Mm-hmm.
And so there's like the midnight suit and the Igor suit and the heavy duty suit and the underwater suit. So he's building action figures.
I got you. Yeah. What if I need this? What if I need that? Oh, you know what? Let me.
He's trying to over anticipate missions and problems, which is nice follow up in Age of Ultron, because that's what drives a lot of the conflict in that one. So, he's just trying to over anticipate, the next crisis.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I don't have a problem with him building, 40 odd suits.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you have a problem with all of a sudden Pepper Potts knows how to fight when she gets injected with extremis at the end?
Yeah, that was stupid.
Knows how to use the suit when she gets injected with extremis. Extremis seems to do a lot of stuff that they're not telling you.
Yeah. It's literal plot armor.
Yeah.
For Pepper.
Can execute a pin perfect kick of a missile and then shoot it without any training.
Don't you know that every Stark CEO must take kickboxing training? It's a Marvel movie, so the third act fails.
Is that a theme here?
I think it is.
At that point, they've got your money.
They got your money. Matter, yeah. But the first 2 acts were good. And I like the stuff with Harley, the kid. I like, Tony's journey. enjoy. Although they do sideline Happy very quickly.
Yeah,
and I don't know, like maybe that was something with Jon Favreau, or they just wanted this to be Tony's story.
Maybe they just didn't have anything for Happy to do, or maybe he was shooting a movie or something like that. That's fine, whatever. I don't need to see Happy. It's fine.
I like I said, I like the first couple acts. Tony's story is good. I enjoy Rhodey's piece in this.
Yeah,
I like the Iron Patriot piece. I like like I said, it feels like a '90s movie, which I enjoy and was refreshing. So you got the evil vice president and like all this stuff going on in Air Force One was interesting. So I don't
the whole rescue.
The rescue was fun.
Good.
Yeah.
It was a good scene.
Yeah.
It was a really good scene.
On a scale, I lean this more towards one I enjoy.
It's definitely better than two. My thoughts on two. I'm not a huge fan of two, and whatever. That's just what it is.
Yeah.
I enjoy Guy Pearce.
Yeah.
I always like him.
He's always good.
I've liked him obviously since Memento, but he's in a movie. Is it Lockout? Where it's like Die Hard in space. His character's awesome.
Yeah,
and that movie's not great. It's
a fun
good.
movie.
Yeah,
it's a fun movie.
It's a movie that like I wanted to take his character and I wanted him in another movie. Like that's how much I liked his character, and like you never did. But anyways, that's my Guy Pearce moment. All right.
Yeah.
So why don't we get into some differences? Because I got some.
Before we get into difference, I wanted to highlight one thing for you and for our listeners.
Ooh.
Do you know what other movie came out this summer?
What, this summer of this year?
Of 2013.
Hang on. I'm going to say, I didn't have that note, so go ahead. What is it?
Man of Steel.
Ooh.
So the distinguished competitors were kicking off their own extended universe.
Are they really competitors?
No, they're not. And it was a bust right out of the gate. And, but they took two different angles here. So I don't enjoy Zack Snyder's work at all. At all.
Okay. Well, you don't like Sucker Punch?
Oh, God. So many issues. But the two things that they do, they hit on, it's basically what these characters would be like in a real world.
Mm-hmm.
So Man of Steel, he's feared.
Yes.
He's a weapon. Which I don't dislike that.
Yeah.
I just, dislike the execution. In this one, Tony's a celebrity. So you have the two sides, of a coin here. He's signing autographs. Everybody knows who his Iron Man suit's parked out of the biker bar.
Yeah.
It's, this is the world that they've already built and established.
Exactly.
And so DC's going the other way where like the superheroes are feared and a little, confusing.
DC's all messed up.
Yeah.
I know they're not going to, I'm sure they will reboot everything. I don't understand why we need another Batman, but they're all messed up.
Yeah.
They don't, I like Henry Cavill. I think he's a good actor.
Who's great in the Mission Impossible.
I just did. Actually, it should be out by now. We did the episode for Man from Uncle for season 5, and I like that movie, which I totally forgot Guy Ritchie directed that.
Oh right,
yeah, but I like that movie a lot, and he's great in that movie. He's a good actor. He's just you're not going to say no to Superman. You're going to say yes. So.
But if it helped him get The Witcher, which is fun,
dude, I watched the first episode of that, and my wife and I, we don't know what the hell's going on.
I don't know what's going on, but the fight scene was awesome.
Yeah, when he stabs, like I've seen that before. He's not cutting people. Did you ever see Rob Roy?
No.
So at the end of Rob Roy, there's a fight scene between Tim Roth and Liam Neeson. And basically it ends with Liam Neeson bringing his broadsword down on the shoulder of Roth and cutting it, right? And it's just sitting there. He's like, and it's like, you just look and his shoulders coming apart. I'm like, yeah. In that movie, Tim Roth rapes his wife. So when he does that to him, you're like, yeah, you deserve that. But anyways, that's my Rob Roy take.
And that was just...
Come back for the many tangents.
And that was just to set the table of what year we are and the context of the two different competing movies of the summer.
You should watch Rob Roy. It's really good. But anyways,
I think I will.
That's a good take. I enjoy that. Thank you. But let's get into some of the differences between the comics and the movie. And let's see. Where can I start? Here? I sent you some stuff.
You did send me some stuff.
How about I'll just go in order, I guess. So talk to me about, because they did it a couple times in the movie. They kept referencing the fact that they have changed the name of War Machine to Iron Patriot.
Iron Patriot.
And they kept saying it.
Yeah.
And then I found out that the Iron Patriot alias was actually used by Green Goblin in the Spider-Man comics.
Yes.
So please, tell me how this transferred to this.
So full disclosure, though, in the comics, Rhodey does operate an Iron Patriot suit at one point, but it was post Iron Man 3. So I try to keep that out. So... it market tests better than War Machine.
I get that. I don't mind the name. I think that's fine.
Yeah.
I understand you paint it with the stars and stripes, and that's, you have your own quote unquote Iron Man. Sure.
Yeah. So following the comic storyline Secret Invasion, in which the Skrulls, which we meet in Captain Marvel, they use their shape-changing powers to hide as members of superheroes and other members of the Marvel community to really take over the Earth. So the superheroes save the day, blah, blah, blah. Norman Osborn, Spider-Man villain, Green Goblin. We know him, played by the great Willem Dafoe.
Awesome
Awesome performance. He became the head of Hammer, a organization similar to Shield, but a little bit more offensively focused, as you can tell by the name. No relation to Justin Hammer, but it replaced.
Another shout out to another guy we like, Sam Rockwell,
which we're going to get more on him later. So it replaced Shield. He formed the new Dark Avengers, in which villains basically cosplayed as your favorite heroes. So Bullseye was Hawkeye, Venom was Spider-Man. Wolverine has a son named Draken, and he was Wolverine.
Oh, man.
We're not going to get into it.
Whoa, what?
And, of course, Norman Osborn, head of this whole thing, decides, I'm going to be Iron Patriot. So, it is a take on this government owning the suit, operating the Iron Man suit. Same color scheme, very similar look, just adapted for the screen. Eventually the superheroes beat them and everything. But it was, it was made to make a alternate evil, but still corporate Iron Man.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
But I like that they included it. You said the same thing. It tests better. I think Rhodey had a good storyline in this.
That's fine. Yeah.
But I like the suit too.
All right.
But he's not the only one that wears a suit in this movie.
You want me to go to that?
Well, let's go to that because
So
my notes are right there.
Pepper Potts puts on the suit at the end and whatever. And I guess she was, what was her character's name? Rescue in the Invincible Iron Man comic for it says for 3 years here.
Yeah. So
what's that? What's up with that?
What up with that? So she wears a suit too. We actually see the suit in Endgame where she pops in at the end.
Oh, she's in the gold one, right?
Or like bluish.
Is it bluish? I don't remember.
Yeah.
I don't know why.
I think in the comics it was a little bit more red.
Okay.
But they're just trying to do their thing here. But she dons a rescue suit, and instead of being a primarily offensive weapon like War Machine, Iron Patriot, or Iron Man, it's got mostly like EMS type services.
Here I am. I've got some bandages for you.
So it's a first responder suit. That's it.
So not only is she a CEO of Stark Industries, she's now an EMT. Did she take the courses?
I think she took the courses. I think she's CPR certified. That's it. That's rescue.
That's it. Does her hands have she can clear, she can
I don't know about that. I should look that up. I didn't even think to ask that.
That'd be great if the hand has the pumping action where it comes out so that it does the chest compressions. She just sits there and it does it all automatically.
Oh, yeah.
And then she has the other hand will breathe oxygen into the person's mouth as like that.
You should write comics.
Well, from these notes, clearly I could. I'm just kidding. So Killian, you find out, is part of A.I.M. in this movie, and they're just kind of this organization, this bad organization, you end up finding out that at the end. But now A.I.M. is supposed to be an offshoot of Hydra in the comics.
So A.I.M.
It's been a while since we've been doing this.
It really has. Yet another idea mechanics. No, A.I.M. is advanced idea mechanics. They're the yellow jumpsuit guys. Where Hydra's the green jumpsuit guys. These are the yellow jumpsuit guys.
Oh, okay.
That's how you know the difference.
Okay.
Yeah, that's what their grunts wear. So they are a subsidiary of them, THEM.
Okay.
Which in and of itself was formed from the remains of Hydra. So yes, they're an offshoot of Hydra.
So after Hydra was broken up,
yeah,
that
them came in,
and then A.I.M.
which
became
feels like a very James Bond because
Yeah.
it was the 60s. It feels like a James Bond kind of Inspector Gadget thing. So A.I.M. becomes an offshoot. And what they are is more like the international arms, weapons development, R&D, developers and stuff.
Anti-Tony Starks kind of thing.
Kind of, yeah.
Now, did Hammer Industries have anything to do with them as well? Or
not that I can find.
Okay.
They're more, Avengers villains. I know Hawkeye has faced off with them a couple times. The Secret Avengers in recent years have fought them. But yeah, I mean, they're similar. They're just another, grunt like Hydra.
So Hydra was an offshoot of the Nazis.
Yes.
Does that carry through that Nazi
Not really.
mentality? So they kind of get away from that.
They kind of get away from it.
Okay,
I mean, there's still that you got the grunts that come in. You have the higher up ones, but it's not the same devour, you bite off one head, two more kind of jump in type of thing. It's really a organization. This is what the Wikipedia page says because I thought it was a good description. and how they adapted it, which is A.I.M is an organization of brilliant scientists and their hirelings dedicated to the acquisition of power and the overthrow of all world governments by technological means. So I think they did a good job of adapting the Mandarin's speeches and then, the extremist piece of it.
We'll talk about the Mandarin a little bit from the comic because I don't have that note here, but but that seemed like an illogical choice for us to go. The way they use him here and the way he's used in the comic, whether you agree with that, whether that was hurtful or did you care or whatever.
So I know we touched on the Mandarin a little bit, I think in the first Iron Man, we were talking about the 10 rings, but so his comic origins date back to the beginning, the very, beginning of Iron Man's, and it was very stereotypical, East Asian, mystic art, stuff like that. So I don't need to dive too deep into that. But the big difference between him and Iron Man was they were a foil of one another. Mm-hmm. So Mandarin was using these mystic arts, where Tony was a man of technology.
So he's more magical in the
more
comics.
Magical, yeah, more magical.
He's not a terrorist or
he's a terrorist, but he's
not
like
how they portrayed him in the movie, where he's like firing guns. And, okay, right.
He's a little bit more. They adapted him to be the Mandarin of a war in Afghanistan versus when they created the character was back. Communism was running rampant. At one point, he takes over like a third of China.
Okay.
Through, and I'll get to it in a second, but it's a better foil than I think what we have here, which is, it was communist mystic art guy versus capitalist techno guy, and here it's just two capitalist techno guys, fight with the real Mandarin in this one with Aldrich and Tony fighting each other, so you lose a little bit of that foil. That being said, Aldrich still tries to play up to his Mandarin-esque roots with the Fin Fang Foom back tattoo.
Yeah, so explain, because the note I have is that it's not his tattoo. It's for someone else.
It's for something else, yeah. But I think we need a face-off between the Fin Fang Foom tattoo, and Ben Affleck's Phoenix tattoo. Who wore it best? So Fin is it's a dragon-like creature that gets awakened by the Mandarin. So that's when he uses the dragon to take over about a third of China.
Okay.
And through the storyline, Mandarin is actually tricked into awakening this dragon. So he teams up with Iron Man, War Machine to beat that dragon. And they do. And Fin Fang Foom has appeared in a number of comics since, most recently, I believe, having in a satirical series, Squirrel Girl.
Okay.
Where the titular hero, who can talk to squirrels.
Are you kidding me?
No.
Really?
No.
All right.
Beats Fin Fang Foom.
So, but Fin Fang Foom is a dragon?
It's a dragon.
Like a straight up big ass dragon, like from Game of Thrones style? That big?
Yeah, that big. It's drawn a little bit differently. It's a little bit like.
And it talks?
Yes.
Oh, for God's sakes. Where have we gone? Now you're losing me. This is why I couldn't get into comics, because stuff like this. Not that there's anything wrong with that. If you love comics, that is awesome. Good for you. I don't know if I could get into that.
Some of it's just absurd.
Yeah, no, I get it. I'm not hating. You do you guys. Okay. All right, well, let's talk about Extremis. Yeah. Because we've made fun of it about 20 times right now. So Extremis is from an Iron Man story arc.
It is from an Iron Man story arc.
But it was, well, the note I have here, they were just kind of henchmen. They were minor villains.
Yes.
Okay, so what exactly, in the comics, what are they exactly?
So in the comics, the storyline Extremis features the drug Extremis, but the storyline Marvel had brought in a writer, Warren Ellis, which, you brought up that there's an Easter egg in here that the president is named President Ellis. So they name it after Warren, prolific comic book writer, author. What they wanted to do was bring somebody in to rejuvenate the Iron Man character, make him cool for, and I quote, the 21st century.
Well, this is back in 2005.
Yes. This is before the movie came out. A lot of what the designs in this are used in the designs for the original Iron Man. Mm-hmm. To be honest, I'm not a huge fan of this storyline.
In the movie?
In the comic.
In the comic.
And we can get to that in a second. But
yeah, that's fine.
So what it does is it introduces Maya Henson, a former flame of Tony, so they keep that going, and her boss, Aldrich Killian, who in the first couple panels, he kills himself. Okay. Because it's learned that his extremist formula has gotten loose. So are they building this like formula that's injected? It makes the user super strong. They can breathe fire. They can.
He looked like Lopan from Big Trouble in Little China.
Oh yes.
When he takes the truck and he's like, oh,
yeah.
That's a great movie, FYI. But he looked like him when he breathed. Yeah. Go ahead.
Yeah. So there's only really one like guy who had gotten the extremis into him, and he's on he's running to trying to get to DC to cause havoc. So it's
as bad guys like to do.
As bad guys do. So Iron Man joins the fight. Obviously, you know he's helping Maya, you know, figure out what's going on. There's a whole like almost issue where Tony and Maya are meeting their former advisor, and they're talking a lot about it's a lot of talking, a lot of dialogue, and I'm not against that in comics, but it's really a more philosophical like debate of technology and who's doing what, and it's fine, it works, I guess, because this is the first time I had revisited it since mid 2000s, so it's fine. But so Tony joins the fight. At first, the individual with extremis beats Tony, and Tony's issue is that he's because you know we're still dealing with clunkier armor. He's getting it out of like big giant suitcases. And
still doing that. Okay.
Still doing that. So he has to like put a undersuit on, and then the armor comes on afterwards.
Because in this movie, they've introduced where he has now injected himself with this sensors all across his body.
He can call to it.
Which they don't really... We'll get to that with the MCU stuff. But yes, go ahead.
So Tony is slower. It's hard the reaction time isn't there. So he decides to inject himself with an upgraded version of the extremis. And what
Tony does.
Okay. And the way that the extremis works in this one, it almost puts you into a cocoon for a period of time, and then you come out and you're better.
Okay.
So it's dangerous. It's
but you don't have the powers. It just heals you.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So his version, he didn't get the super strength. He didn't get the fire breath. It healed him. Plus, the nanites of the suits were almost embedded into him. So the undersuit comes on him, and it forms all over him. And then he can call the armor from the suit to him.
I'll tell you right now, I wouldn't mind being injected with some nanobites. I kind of want to get in on that.
Yeah.
Fix me up. I get cut.
Let's do it.
I'm in. We're willing participants right here. We're going to become villains.
Yeah. That's fine.
Speaking of villains, there are people in this story that reference some, villains in the comic. And I'm going to go through them a little bit and you tell me, I guess, I don't know, give me some background. So the guy that you first meet that causes the Man Theater explosion his last name is Taggart.
Yes.
And I have here that his name was Firepower in the comic or something like that. What is that?
It's a lot of times at this point in the MCU, they get to the point where they could throw in Easter eggs, and they're just like pulling from names in the comics. So it was this idea with him that they could, they pull in the name, Firepower blows up, does this thing. They throw some names on. There's a whole cottage industry of YouTube videos diving into the Easter eggs. And this is one of those ones just to get people jazzed up.
So, but the Firepower guy has nothing to do with extremists. It's just a different guy.
I don't believe so.
Okay.
I have to double check, but I don't believe so.
Though the James Badgedale plays Savin. He's
Slavin.
Slavin? Is it Slavin?
I thought so.
Whatever.
Yeah.
So he's Killian's right-hand guy.
Yep.
But he is known as Cold Blood.
Yeah. So he's a mercenary cyborg.
All right, you say that with just such great ease.
I know. I don't think he works for Killian, especially because Killian shoots himself in the beginning of
the comics. Yeah.
But he's a former Army lieutenant, so it's similar to his role in this one, where he's recruiting soldiers to be part of this extremist thing.
Which apparently they have a lot.
They do.
Like at the end, they're just all over the place. All right. My last one is Brandt.
Yeah. So Ellen Brandt, she is the wife of Man-Thing.
Yes, please explain this. What is Man-Thing?
Nope, not explaining that. I'm just going to tell you.
Is it really bad? Is it inappropriate?
I mean, he's the star of giant-sized Man-Thing. I'm going to just leave it there. Let that one sink into everybody.
But she was married to Man-Thing.
She was married to Man-Thing.
And I guess they left the fact that she has a scarred face in the movie, which as I read was kind of a reference to.
Yes.
So I don't know that at the time. And all I'm thinking is, if she has extremis, how come she still has the scar?
I don't know.
And that's what I'm saying. So you put it in the reference. I get it. Oh, it's a cool thing.
But it fixed her hand, right? Like it fixed her arm.
It fixed everything. It should fit.
Except for the
made
scar.
Killian cool. It can't make the scar go away.
Yes, her husband is Man-Thing.
Okay.
He was a scientist that was working for Shield.
Okay.
As he got lost in the work, she does as every doting housewife does and decides to join A.I.M to plot against him.
That is the worst name, though. Why would you call yourself Man-Thing?
Because he was a thing, but he was a man. Like Man-Bat was already taken. DC had capitalized that. What do you want him to do? Swamp Thing was taken.
Oh my lord.
So she confronts her husband, and it's at that moment he turns into Man-Thing, and she suffers severe burns across her face. So she has the burns.
Excellent.
Oh, and then you had another one for me, which is who is Bambi Arbogast?
Yeah. In the Happy says references someone named Bambi, and it's supposed to be Mrs. Arbogast, and that was who?
Yeah. This is another like straight Easter egg where she was the secretary to the CEO of Stark Industries for years in the comics.
Okay, yeah.
And that's,
Do you think that Black is putting this in there? That Shane Black is putting this in there?
No, I think Kevin Feige and a team of like production assistants just scour stuff, and it's like, hey, we have this random character. What should we name him? And instead of just like coming up with some like generic name, they say, oh, let's pull from the long box and figure out who we can.
Now, do you think this is because it's a wrap-up movie? Like this is the third and last, the final?
I think they started to, see the fan reaction where there'd be like articles written immediately afterwards, and it helps just promote the film. It's like, hey, did you catch this little Easter egg? So it helps promote the film, and maybe you go read the article.
I gotcha.
You go read the article. Maybe you go see it again just so you could catch things. I think Shane Black is there to tell an interesting story. Maybe he is a comic fan. I don't know. But I think, a lot of it's Kevin Feige, the team from Marvel, saying, hey, let's get a little bit more comic book names.
Like Roxxon Oil and
Roxxon Oil. Yep, the Silver Centurion. They were, those were part of the, I believe the Armor Wars series, which we kind of touched on.
Yeah, we did. I didn't want to. Yeah. I just wrote that down there, and I'm thinking to myself, we don't need to go through Armor Wars because we already did that. Which episode we do that on?
I think that was Iron Man 2.
So check out Iron Man 2 because we go on back and we talk about Armor Wars a little bit. All right, so you brought up Feige. Unless you have anything else,
no.
Let's jump into some of the MCU stuff because there's a couple things I forgot to mention when we were talking about the movie. This is still under the Paramount logo. This was part of the Disney deal.
Okay.
So now we are I love how we do this. Every episode, every last 3 episodes, we're like, so this is it. And then I restart reading this. Like, this wasn't it. I have no idea what's going to happen next with Thor. But as far as I know, like this is still under the Paramount logo. It's part of the Disney deal. It was part of all that stuff when they took it over. The original cut of this movie was 195 minutes. Can you? Yeah.
195 minutes.
That's now if you put the 20 minutes of trailers on there, you're looking at 215 minutes, obviously. That is 3 hours and 35 minutes of movie. I want to know what got taken out.
What did they cut out?
What did they put in?
Maybe that was the 60 million that they added in the budget.
195 minutes is what I got here.
How do you get another?
I have no idea.
What was it? I know you said the runtime earlier. What was the runtime?
130 minutes. So they cut 65 minutes out of this movie.
They cut a TV movie out of this.
Yeah.
Thing.
Well, technically, the designation for a feature now has to be. It used to be 80, then it went to 70. Now it's at 60. So this technically they cut out another feature.
Wow. Is that because they've gone to features have gone streaming?
It might be, yeah, okay. Maybe.
So that like why Netflix movies can qualify and stuff like that.
Yep.
Okay.
I don't know. I mean, I don't know how long ago that happened, but okay. So, where do you want to start with? Because there's really not a lot of stuff in here.
Not a lot. I mean, we have the same. We talked about it. The same cast. Rhodey doesn't make an appearance until the end of Ultron.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sorry, the beginning of Ultron. He's in the party, and then he makes an appearance later on.
Yeah.
He's back as War Machine, so that's cool. I don't think Pepper makes an appearance again until Spider-Man movie.
Maybe.
Yeah.
She's not in any of the Avengers.
She's not in Ultron. I don't believe she's in Civil War.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't think she makes an appearance until Spider-Man when they get
at the
engaged.
Very end.
Yeah.
Yes. Again, this is another movie where they reference the big guy with the hammer. When Killian talks about everything's changed since the big guy with the hammer fell from the earth, it's like in the MCU movies, it's becoming like a watershed moment.
Yeah, the Battle of New York.
Not just when Thor appears.
Oh, right. Okay.
That's what I was saying because they never reference the incident as they call it.
Yes.
That's part of it, but they always go back to when Thor first arrived.
Mm-hmm.
And now like that was when everything changed, when they realized there was extraterrestrial life out there. What a way to make first contact. It's just a dude in a hammer with a cape.
Who just wants more coffee.
It's not like it was a Star Trek first contact, but the Vulcans came down. It was really nice. Everyone was like all happy.
No, we got Point Break with a hammer. So the other one that we get in this is Bruce Banner.
The tag feels
tacked on. Literally tacked on.
This movie feels like they're doing an Iron Man 3 and they really didn't know what the next Avengers movie was going to be about. They didn't know what the bad guy was about.
They didn't know who was coming up next.
Because the bad guy in Ultron is basically Stark's design.
Yep.
And you would think that you would have already you would have that somewhere in Iron Man 3 if you knew that. So you don't.
Right.
And
that's why it feels like it's an end to phase 1.
Right.
More than it is a beginning to phase 2.
Like a bridge.
Yeah.
Almost. But again, you have nothing to bridge to the next movies. And granted, the next movie is Thor Dark World, right?
Nobody wants to bridge to that.
Well, that's the thing. How are you going to bridge a movie that's set on Earth to a movie that's basically set in Asgard?
True.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that I understand there's no way to do that.
And I don't think they knew what was coming up in Winter Soldier either just yet. So I think they were so far out removed from that one.
Mm-hmm.
That they were, because this comes out a year after Avengers.
Mm-hmm. This isn't when they have the upfronts, kind of not the upfronts, but when they have the timeline. They don't do this here.
I don't think so.
I don't think they start doing that till after phase 2. And then I think at that point you get the idea
doing
that
like this
is what's happening. Yeah.
Where Kevin Feige stands on the stage and it's like, we're doing 4 movies a year for the next 15 years. And so we get Bruce Banner in here. So this is... He's
not even in here. It doesn't even count.
No, but I need you to promise me you have to be good about your response here because we could lose like 40% of our audience. So following Avengers, there was a meme that was released, hashtag Science Bros. And it was Tony and Bruce doing science stuff together.
So after they drove off.
Well, and then when they were working in the lab together, but after they drove off. The meme encompasses everything from just the platonic friendship of 2 geeks doing science stuff together to slash fiction.
Okay.
Which is, it's slash. Yeah. Okay. So the meme was big. It was a lot of jokes for the year in between Avengers and then Iron Man 2. And then this one comes out.
Okay.
And this gave credence to the meme.
Okay.
Because it was added on, because Shane Black went to Mark Ruffalo later on and said, hey, you want to be part of this? So what it really did was, just increase the spread of it. You go on Tumblr, you go on Twitter, it's all over the place. And, and with this one came more. There's Stucky, which is Steve and Bucky.
Okay.
There's the Mustache Bros, as far as I could find, which is Tony and Doctor Strange.
Okay.
And then there's Iron Dad, in which Tony, sometimes Doctor Strange, acts as a dad to Spider-Man.
Mm-hmm.
Harley, and now later Morgan. So they just come up with this like fan fiction of,
they don't get erotic, do they?
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. You want?
Oh my God.
I'm sorry. You want me to lose 40% of the audience that's into that?
Listen, man, it's any audience.
Listen, I've seen the Harry Potter erotica nonsense.
It's like that.
Oh, okay.
It's
so
like
what? How am I losing the audience? What's the question?
Well, that was it. I just wanted to tell you about it because I thought we had to cover this because this ending really gave credit to the meme.
But that's fine. You're referencing your fandom.
You're referencing the fandom, which is something they're doing.
It still doesn't make any. But in terms of the movie,
it doesn't make any sense.
It doesn't make any sense. No.
But that's the problem. Now you're referencing the fandom to do something that doesn't make sense.
I think if I was sitting through a movie and I was watching the credits and then I'm waiting for the tag and that's the tag, I'm like, what? Yeah. Come on. That's like the Birds of Prey tag where she's just like laughing or something.
Yeah, I think she said, "Oh, I know a secret."
Yeah. Okay. No. What is it? You're not going to have a sequel? Well, let's talk about the MCU a little bit here. Yep. This is after Avengers. Iron Man's attacked.
Yep.
He's presumed dead. There's no Avenger to help him. No one. And
Thor's off planet. We get that.
Okay. Captain America is doing what?
I don't know.
Okay.
That was the same thought I had the whole time is like,
Black Widow's doing what?
Both working for S.H.I.E.L.D.
What's S.H.I.E.L.D. doing?
An international terrorist shows up on everybody's radar.
Yeah. There's an explosion in downtown LA and S.H.I.E.L.D. doesn't have it on their radar.
Yeah.
I get it. We're being nitpicky, but if you're going to create a giant universe that everyone lives together and everyone knows everyone's business, these are valid questions. And I know there's 1.2 billion reasons for this movie. You don't need to reference it. I get that. If you want me to believe in the world, you're going to have to do a little bit. You're going to have to throw me something. Even if it's not in the movie and you do a short or you do like a graphic novel in between to kind of discuss what's happening. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah, I wonder if they did. They may have done that.
Okay,
they started to do that.
And I'm absolutely fine with that. If you're going to use other mediums to explain that stuff, that's great because you're increasing brand awareness and synergy and all that good stuff. I'm fine with that. You know, I'm fine with that.
I know you're fine with
but
that.
I want that because you can't, this is a byproduct of creating a giant cinematic universe. You have to explain some things away. Your thoughts?
Well, how do you feel when they do try to explain it away with just quick brush off? So we see it in Spider-Man Far From Home.
Okay.
Where, Peter Parker, your friendly neighborhood Spider-Man.
Not anymore.
Says to Nick Fury, says, what about Thor?
Yeah.
Oh, he's off-world. What about Captain Marvel? Don't speak her name. And it's like, well, because that just gave you like that.
At least they address it.
That addresses it, but it brushes it off.
I understand that, but they're not ignoring it. And I might not like it because now we can delve into the fact that you find in Captain Marvel, you find out what happened to his eye, and he's you know what I mean. There's other stuff we've talked about, and I get that. At least they're referencing it.
Okay.
At least it's being brought up because it's like if you don't even bring it up, like if that scene takes place and he's telling the Spider-Man, I need you, and he's just like, yeah, I'll take care of it. Yeah. Don't worry about it. Then people are going to instantly go like, oh, what about all these other people that can help out?
That's true.
Yeah. No, I get it. But they don't even.
Yeah. I want to know where, because Captain America and Black Widow are working for S.H.I.E.L.D.
Yeah, they're around.
S.H.I.E.L.D. stuff. They're around. Mm-hmm. Like an international terrorist shows up on the radar and S.H.I.E.L.D. has nothing to do with it.
Threatening the sovereignty of America, and Captain America is not going to be like, I want to help out. Let me help Tony out.
He didn't vote for him.
Oh, that's not my president. I'm not going to.
Yeah, no. That's not my hashtag. Not my president.
Oh, that would be terrible if Captain America was like that.
Yeah. So yes, I agree with you. I wish we had more of the Avengers, or at least some sort of write off of where they were.
The other thing I had, which kind of references the MCU, but also references this movie, because really there's really not a lot. No. So, is the removal of the shrapnel from his chest. There's nothing in the plot line of this movie that says he needs to have this done.
Nope.
And we were all under the impression that it could not be done.
Yep.
And now all of a sudden it is being done
with a reformatted extremis, because you see that.
Is that
heal.
why?
Yeah. So you see him heal. So he cures Pepper.
Right.
And then he reconfigures the formula. So that's where they're pulling a little bit from the source material.
Okay.
And you see that with the, I think it's Ellen Brandt, where she regrows her arm.
Yes. Well, a bunch of people regrow stuff.
Yeah. So like, you know that the extremists can heal.
Yes.
And that, I guess, is the main purpose of it. So Tony reconfigures it.
So they're removing the shrapnel. And as they do that, the cavity is healing itself.
I guess so. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I am fine with that. But why? Why are we doing that?
And just because is where it feels like an end to it, because, you think, okay, the piece of his chest piece is out. He's saying, I am Iron Man. Yes, he knows who he is, but he doesn't have to be anymore.
Right.
And like, he blew up all the suits. He's moving on. Like, he's literally packing, he's just taking the robot arm with him and leaving.
Yeah. They keep referencing it like I'm supposed to fall in love with an inanimate object.
But so Pepper's in charge of Stark Industries. Happy's happy.
Yep. They're moving to New York. So like, it feels, and that felt like the last bit of wrap up needed for Iron Man 1. Yep.
Where, Tony's, his physical and his mental scars are healed. I mean, we could argue about the fact that he just needed a pep talk from a 12-year-old to heal PTSD. And if that's the case, why do we have psychologists?
You're an engineer. Thanks, kid.
Yeah. So
I don't know. Panic attack solved. I feel like he would do, like he tells the kid when he's talking about, hey, which happens? Dad's leave. Don't be a pussy about it. Like, I feel like that would be his PSA for people. You got a panic attack? Don't be a pussy about it. Build something. All right. I'm Tony Stark. I'm out. Beep.
The more you know. I don't know. It just, that's why it feels like a wrap up, because we're getting rid of the thing that has defined him since Iron Man 1.
Which I find interesting is then again, we have a second storyline for him that plays out through the Avengers. He's learned his lesson,
but he doesn't.
He
doesn't learn his lesson.
Exactly, because he's the cause of Ultron.
Yep.
And then you have the whole stuff with Civil War, Infinity War, and Endgame, where he is at odds with other Marvel characters, other people, and
he's at odds with what happened in the character development over these first 4 movies.
And then he has another shift of character development where he's with Pepper. They have a child. And he doesn't want to lose a child, and then he's going to sacrifice himself. I don't know.
So it's something to watch when we get to Age of Ultron.
Yeah, definitely. And we're not going to ever go back to. We're not going to ever reference Iron Man now until we get to Ultron.
Right.
And I haven't seen Ultron in a while. But it'll be interesting to note the differences in his character in that story compared to like where we have left him off here.
Yes,
because now we're supposed to fill in the blanks now for all those
for the next, I don't know, however year.
I don't even know how
6 months.
I don't
or
even
something.
know when Ultron takes place in terms of when Iron Man 3 ends.
We'll have to
figure that out.
We'll have to figure that out.
Because I don't even know if Thor's at the same time when it's supposed to. You know what I mean?
We'll have to look it up because there is an official timeline that's been released.
Okay, well, we should get
to that with into Thor, and then because Captain Winter Soldier is taking place at a similar time.
Yeah, we really should plan ahead on these. All right, so do you have anything else to add?
I do have one more.
Go for it.
And that's it's back to the Marvel one shots that we've talked about in the past.
I really got to get into. I got to watch.
You can't
those.
find them anywhere. They're
Damn
really
it.
difficult.
They're not even on Disney Plus.
No, they're on the DVDs. So you have to go back to the DVDs.
They're not on YouTube.
They're not on YouTube.
Somebody didn't upload them illegally.
No, I think they get taken down because I've tried to find them for these, for recording. So this one is called. This is probably the most famous one. It's called All Hail the King. It's written by Drew Pearce.
Okay.
I think actually he may have directed it too. Not positive. So it follows once Trevor gets arrested.
Okay.
He goes to Seagate Prison, which is a Easter egg name from the comics. Sam Rockwell makes a brief cameo.
Oh,
yeah,
nice.
Yeah, as Justin Hammer. So he's been in prison for a little bit.
Is he dancing?
No. But we learned that he shot it in like 2 hours because
nice.
Drew Pearce wanted him in it. And so there was a scheduling conflict, and he's like, if we could just get it done in this small window. So they did. So I think they reduced his role a little bit, but we learned that Trevor's portrayal of the Mandarin has angered the Ten Rings organization, who we saw in Iron Man 1 and will likely see again in the upcoming Shang-Chi movie.
Oh, okay.
Because it's Shang-Chi and the Ten Rings or something. So yeah, I wonder if they're going to re-upload this to Disney Plus or something in preparation for that.
They really should. They should put the one-shots up there for a playlist. We should look that up. Maybe they will. Yeah. They should, because I'll watch them. Yeah.
And they're good. This is the one that the other ones there's like, they don't really do much. They're just little fun stuff. And I think they had a small budget that they tried to do multiple shorts with the single budget.
Mm-hmm.
This one is one where it continues the story and continues the mythology. So it's, if you can find it somewhere, I believe it's on the Thor Dark World DVD.
Okay.
So maybe next week when I
don't have that DVD, but all right.
I think I do. I think it was the last DVD I got. Because then everything started going digital.
Yeah. So as Pat alluded, next week, come on back. We're going to be talking about Thor Dark World. We're really excited about this one.
We're going to have a time.
So this is where I'll sign off. Thanks for coming back and listening to our little podcast episode. Pat's going to take it away with some recommended reading, but I will bid you adieu. As always, at the end of each episode, we like to send you home with some recommended reading that follows up on some of the characters and plots presented in this week's film. Our recommended reading section is sponsored by Infinite Heroes, comics, cards, and collectibles in Watertown, Connecticut. If you're in the Connecticut or New England area, it's a great location to pick up comics from Marvel, as well as DC, Image, and more. They also have a large collection of trading cards, toys, and collectibles. Owner Paul Santos has worked in comics for years, most recently as an editor at DC Comics. Ask him for a recommendation and tell him we sent you.
Thanks for listening, and hopefully you could find some good reading material from here. Obviously, the first recommendation is Iron Man Extremis by Warren Ellis and Adi Granov. So this collects the first 6 issues of the Invincible Iron Man run, and it really helped to propel Iron Man into the 21st century. Iron Man 3 pulls a lot from the Extremis storyline, including Doctors Killian and Henson, the Extremis virus. Granov, the artist here, does a lot of computer-generated work, even did a lot of the concept art for all the Iron Man films, helping to design some of the suits and such. So next is Iron Man, Enter the Mandarin, by Joe Casey and art by Eric Zanetti. Enter the Mandarin retells the first meeting between Iron Man and the Mandarin, in which the villain hijacks the SHIELD weapons facility. The story really hits on the differences between Tony's technology and the Mandarin's Eastern mysticism. It's a fun throwback and a good take on some of the Silver Age classic stories. And then lastly, we have the Dragon Seed Saga. That's another Mandarin-focused storyline written by John Byrne and art by Paul Ryan, not that Paul Ryan. The story has Tony heading to China to seek a cure for a disease that's destroying his nervous system. He makes a deal with them to defeat the Mandarin, who has awakened the dragon Fin Fang Foom. Regrettably, no Fin Fang Foom in Iron Man 3 or the larger MCU just yet, but this series will help you get a better understanding of that Iron Man and Mandarin rivalry. And that's all we got this week. We will see you next time. Thanks for listening.